Ever imagine yourself like right there on the front lines of tech,
Yeah.
and you get to build the security for all the devices we like, totally depend on every single day.
Hmm.
Those hidden heroes, those embedded security engineers, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that make sure our pacemakers and self-driving cars, even our smart refrigerators, are like totally safe from cyber threats.
Yeah.
So today, we are diving in, head first, to what makes these engineers tick, how do you even become one, and then how to absolutely crush that interview using, well, RoleCatcher's in-depth career guide and interview guide.
I always say it's like you are the architect of this digital fortress, right?
Oh, like that.
Yeah, and you're making sure the blueprints are completely rock solid
Right.
from the foundation up.
Exactly. And as we've been learning from RoleCatcher, it's a role that's just constantly growing. Companies are practically fighting each other to find qualified engineers. But before we go down that whole career path thing, let's unpack what they even do. Like, what does an embedded systems security engineer actually do?
So it's a lot more than just like coding all day. Imagine you're designing, I don't know, a medical device. Okay. An embedded system security engineer is there, like from the beginning, analyzing all the threats, figuring out how to build in security, like at every single level, and then how to make sure that thing is still secure even after it's shipped and being used, by patients.
Wow, so they're thinking like steps and steps ahead of the bad guys?
Always.
That's intense. Okay, so let's say you are prepping for this interview for one of these like crazy sought-after roles.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher gave us 9 sample questions to practice. Want to tackle a few.
Let's do it. Yeah, preparation is key.
Okay, first up, can you describe your experience with secure boot and secure firmware updates? Now, for anyone listening who hasn't heard these terms, imagine your computer doing like a quick scan before it boots up, making sure nobody messes with the software. That's secure boot.
Yeah.
And those updates, you know the ones that your devices download all the time, making sure those are legit and tamper-proof, that's your secure firmware updates.
It's like installing a security system in your house. You want to make sure everything's locked before you put your valuables in.
Smart.
Hiring managers, they look for concrete examples here. How have you actually implemented these concepts? Like, what were the challenges you faced?
So instead of just being like, yeah, I've done that, you got to tell a story.
Exactly.
Walk them through a project, maybe where you had to implement a secure boot, like what was hard about it, what'd you do?
And you can even, show you're really thinking it, ask a follow-up question. Something like, are there specific industry standards or best practices for this that I should know about for this role?
Oh, so you're already thinking about fitting into their world. Smart. Yeah. And you know what else can give you an edge with this kind of answer?
What's that?
RoleCatcher's AI tools. Imagine you practice your answer, and then AI analyzes it, compares it to other successful answers, like from other candidates who aced this interview.
Oh, wow. So it's like having a secret weapon.
Totally.
It can pinpoint areas where your explanation isn't clear or if you're being too technical,
It's like a personal coach. Okay, another question that trips people up. Could you explain the difference between symmetric and asymmetric encryption?
Okay.
Now, these are big concepts in cryptography, but they can sound so confusing if you're not familiar.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so imagine you and a friend have a secret code for messages.
Right.
That's your symmetric encryption, using one key for both encrypting and decrypting.
Makes sense.
Now, asymmetric is like having a public mailbox. Anyone can drop a message in, but only you have the key to open it.
I like that analogy. That's a good one. Yeah, it highlights the difference really well.
And when you're answering, it's not enough to just define them, like a dictionary.
Right.
The interviewer wants to see, can you actually use them? When to use which one, the strengths, the weaknesses.
That's where you show off how you think, your process. It could be like, well, in this project, we used symmetric encryption for this sensitive data because it's faster, but we chose asymmetric for key exchange because it's way more secure, especially on a network.
Because you're showing them the why, not just the what.
Yeah.
And again, RoleCatcher's AI tools can help you polish those responses. Make sure you're hitting all those points. Now let's do one that really separates those rookies from the pros.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
How do you perform a threat analysis for an embedded system?
Ooh, that's a good one. This is where you become the attacker.
It's like being a digital detective, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to someone tackling this one?
I'd say start by showing, how do you approach this? Do you have a method you follow?
Like a framework.
Yeah, exactly, like Stratego or PASTA. Or maybe you've got your own thing.
Structure is key, though, right? Yeah. Shows you're not just, I don't know, throwing darts at a board.
Right, yeah, you're not randomly guessing. And to make it real, walk them through it. Pick an embedded system, maybe something they'd use in their industry, and tell them how you'd find the weak points.
So you're painting a picture, but with words.
Exactly.
What about follow-up questions? What would be a good one here?
Oh, you could ask, do you have any threat models I could look at to see the common vulnerabilities, specific to your products?
Ooh, so you're showing initiative.
Exactly.
And that you're ready to learn their specific stuff. Fantastic advice. And, that is the perfect segue into another big part of this whole thing, the career path. What can someone expect, in terms of growth and specializing within embedded system security? Based on the RoleCatcher Career Guide, of course.
Well, the career ladder is definitely there. You could start as a junior engineer, work your way up, senior role, lead a team, maybe even head a whole security department.
Wow, so there's definitely room to move up.
Oh, absolutely. But what's exciting is the potential to really focus on something. Some engineers focus on certain industries, like just medical devices or building really, really strong car security systems. Others, maybe they go into research or leadership. Imagine shaping the security for a whole organization.
So it's like choosing your own adventure.
It really is.
And speaking of choosing your path, let's do another interview question that comes up all the time.
And no matter what you choose, what path you go down, this field is always changing,
Yeah.
What's like super advanced today is going to be like ancient history tomorrow.
Absolutely true.
So you got to always be learning.
That's where those certifications come in, right?
Yeah.
It's not just checking a box on the resume.
Right.
It shows you're invested in, keeping up.
Shows your commitment. It tells employers like, hey, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm on top of this. Speaking of skills, though, let's do another question. This one's all about the foundation of embedded systems. Can you describe your experience with secure bootloaders and trusted execution environments? T's.
Okay, that one sounds a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Like asking a chef to explain the science behind their famous dish.
Right.
What even are those? Secure bootloaders and T's. And why are they so important?
Okay, so think of like a super secure room inside a bigger building, right?
Okay.
Got a secure room, that's your T. It's a protected place inside the device where you can do like your super secret operations. Storing keys, processing data, all shielded, nobody can peek in.
Like a vault in a bank.
Exactly. And now imagine that to even open that vault, you need the right credentials, right? Like you got to be authorized.
Yeah.
That's the secure bootloader. They make sure that only the trusted stuff, the right software, can even run on the device when it turns on. Like they're guarding the keys to the whole kingdom.
So it's like layers and layers of security.
Multiple layers, yeah.
If you're in the interview, honesty is key here, right?
Always.
If you've got the experience, great, share those stories.
Yeah.
But what if you're still, learning about these things? What then?
You're honest. You say, look, I know how important this is. And you explain what you do know. Then hit them with, I'm really interested in learning more about this, especially for securing IoT devices,
Show them you're curious.
Exactly. That's huge.
Yeah, and RoleCatcher's AI can help you with this too. It can help you phrase those answers in a way that shows like, hey, I'm on it and I'm eager to learn even more.
It's like a career coach, A&D, a tech mentor, all in one.
There you go.
Okay, let's do another one. How do you perform a code review for an embedded system?
Code reviews. So crucial. It's like if you're building something, you got to check for cracks in the foundation. You don't want to wait till the whole thing falls apart.
Right.
You got to catch them early.
What should people remember when they're answering this?
Emphasize why code reviews are important. You're finding problems before they become disasters. You could say, I see these as a team effort, not just, a box to check. We're sharing knowledge, catching problems early, and building a system that's both secure and reliable. It's a team effort, for sure. And it's not just about bugs, is it?
Nope.
It's about the whole thing, making sure the code is good quality.
Exactly. Talk about the techniques you've used, like pair programming or those static analysis tools. Show them you have a system. You're not just, winging it.
Right. And then you can ask them as a follow-up, what do you guys do?
Yeah.
What are your code review practices? Shows you're already thinking about joining their team. Okay, another technical one that comes up. Can you explain the difference between a buffer overflow and a stack overflow?
The classics.
Right. Every embedded systems engineer should know these.
For sure. These are like the memory corruption vulnerabilities you got to watch out for.
They sound pretty jargony, though. Can you break them down?
Okay, so imagine a bookshelf.
Okay.
A buffer overflow, that's when you try to cram too many books onto one shelf. Things start falling off, could even break something else nearby.
Oh, no.
Right. But a stack overflow, that's like stacking the books so high they hit the ceiling and the whole thing tips over.
So it's about, like, going over the limit in different ways.
Yeah, exactly. And these tiny little errors, they can cause big problems. An attacker could use that to, like, take over or even crash the whole system.
Wow, so even small things can snowball.
Oh, yeah.
How do you answer this in an interview?
Keep it clear, keep it simple. You could say, a buffer overflow happens when a program tries to put more data into a buffer than it can hold, and that can overwrite stuff it shouldn't.
Like it goes out of bounds.
Exactly. And then give a real-world example. A buffer overflow vulnerability in an embedded system, something specific.
Show them you get it. And again, RoleCatcher's AI can help you polish that explanation. Make it super sharp.
Definitely.
Okay, let's talk about another important part of embedded system security. It's all about, like, how do you keep the updates themselves safe?
Right, exactly.
Making sure nobody's messing with them, they're from the right place, all that.
It's critical. You don't want someone sneaking in a bad update, like disguised as the real deal.
That'd be bad. Like hijacking the system from the inside. So in the interview, how do you prove you're the one to protect those updates?
Show them you know about secure update stuff. Talk about those cryptographic signatures.
Yeah, that's like what? Digital fingerprints.
Yeah, exactly. They prove where the update came from that it hasn't been messed with.
Like the package is still sealed.
Exactly. And then you've got your secure boot processes. They're like the bouncers. Only let the right firmware in. And don't forget the communication channels, especially for those IoT devices. They get updates wirelessly, right?
Right.
You got to make sure that connection is secure too.
Every step of the way.
Gotcha.
Okay, last question. Give me a follow-up that'll wow them.
You could ask, what are you guys doing to protect your own firmware update system? Like, what security measures are in place?
So you're basically asking to see behind the curtain. Love it.
Exactly. It shows them you're thinking big picture. You're ready to jump in and be part of the solution.
Perfect. Okay, one last interview question for today. Let's talk secure communication protocols.
The question is, can you describe your experience with secure communication protocols such as SSL/TLS and IPsec?
Ah, yes. These are the things quietly working in the background, keeping our data safe every time we go online.
Like those envelopes, you know, the ones with the super secret messages inside.
Exactly. Now, for this question, remember, you got to find that balance, right? You want to show them what you know, but also keep it relevant to the job you're going for.
Right. Tailored.
Exactly. So start with the basics. Explain what they are. You could say something like, okay, so SSL/TLS, that's for websites mostly. Make sure your browser and the website are talking privately. Then you've got IPsec, which is more for creating those secure tunnels between networks or even between devices, especially if they're sharing something sensitive.
So different levels of security depending on what you're sending. Makes sense.
Right. And then bring in your own experience. Have you used these before? What did you learn? Did you face any, like, tough situations?
Tell the story. Exactly. That's what they want to hear.
And of course, you know, RoleCatcher's AI can help you fine-tune those answers.
Always a good idea.
Make it super clear, not too much jargon. Okay, before we wrap up, you mentioned soft skills. It's not just about, you know, being a coding ninja.
Oh, for sure. You got to be able to talk to people, work together, solve problems as a team, all that good stuff.
So when you're interviewing, don't be shy. Talk about those times you collaborated, solved a tough problem, or even just explain something technical to someone who, you know, maybe isn't as technical.
It shows them you're more than just a code monkey.
Right. Okay, and speaking of building that awesome career, RoleCatcher has even more stuff to help you. They have that career compass feature.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Helps you figure out where you want to go, what you need to learn, even suggest some certifications to, like, boost your skills.
It's like having a roadmap for your career.
Exactly. And on that note, I think that's about it for our deep dive into the world of embedded systems security engineering. If you're listening, definitely check out the career guide and interview guide on RoleCatcher. Trust me, it's worth it.
They're packed with good stuff. And remember, if you put in the work, if you keep learning and you stay curious, this field is like wide open. It's an exciting time to be in security.
That's it for today's deep dive. Hopefully you're feeling ready to take on the world of embedded systems security. We'll see you next time.